We're making time today for this webinar to talk about how you can protect your sensitive data. Here's a quick agenda. We'll take a tour of what kind of sensitive data, some data breaches, talk about how to prevent data breaches, and then go through our technology for data discovery, data masking, and subsetting, leaving you with best practices and then a demonstration of our masking tool. According to a Verizon data breach investigation from 2012, and at the bottom of the slide is actually the link to go to where the source of this information, which comes from the United States Secret Service, Dutch National High-Tech Crime Unit, Australian Federal Police, Irish Reporting and Information Security, and the Police Central Crimes Unit of London. These are the types of data that was compromised by the number and breaches of records. If you take a look, the most sensitive data, personal information has been breached, bank data, there's a significance of medical information, and credit card information. So we'll touch on those types of data. According to datalossdb.org, and this came out of the Open Security Foundation, they mapped privacy breaches over time. I thought this was particularly interesting visual to see the trend of breaches from 2009 to 2012 is more than increased more than 100%. There's all kinds of statistics on insider threats versus exterior threats, and we'll touch upon the way to protect the sensitive data in your organization. So according to a 2012 consumer study on data breach notification done by the Ponemon Institute, healthcare data breaches were up 32%, federal data breaches up almost 20%, and through November of last year, there were close to 80 university data breaches. These are some recent breaches. I won't read through this. I'll just kind of hit on the highlights. So HHS cites that nearly 19.2 personal health information records, so PHI information, has been exposed. There was a recent case in Alabama where a state employee obtained identification information and was extracting that information from October 2009 through April 12, and that was which she filed over 1,000 false tax returns. And one of the big three credit reporting agencies recently had a breach in which personally identifiable information, social security numbers, etc., of some very high-profile people in government were released. So what are the types of sensitive data in applications that we just talked upon? Employee data in HR systems, such as, let's just say PeopleSoft as an example. Salaries, social security number. There are a lot of e-government applications. Information in there, again, social security number, there could be credit card number, date of birth, PII, and then patient data in healthcare systems, PHI, medical record numbers, claim codes, etc. There's a significant risk in non-production copies of data that are in use by the organization. Insider attacks are the biggest threat, and this is borne by statistics and backed up by statistics from a number of different agencies. Your test, development, and staging copies contain a lot of sensitive data. outsourced IT staff, development and QA, exposes risk to an organization both internally with IT audit and compliance as well as externally. So at this juncture, I will turn our presentation over to Kostaba. Kostaba?
Thanks, Deborah. Hello, everyone. Myself, Kostaba Ipagunta, work as a senior program analyst for Solix Technologies. The expertise that I bring to this webinar is having worked with one of the largest retail customers in California. I primarily worked with them to implement the test data management solution for their PeopleSoft application on their financial and HR modules. To start off, we know that stolen data can result in significant legal fees, loss of credibility, and also exposure of corporate accounts. In order to secure this, policies alone cannot protect companies and their customers. Along with the company's policies, a robust technology is required to secure sensitive data. So this is over here, this is where Solix EDMS masking module keeps the data away and secure in a very cost-effective solution that guarantees data privacy, security, and compliance. So on that, I'm going to touch upon the different solutions and the different methods that the sensitive data can be secured. So as you can see, there are a couple of ways that we can go about securing the sensitive data. So the very first step would be to discover all the elements or the sensitive elements that are present in your database. So this will be what we call as the data discovery method. So the data discovery feature in the Solix EDMS allows you to identify the PCI, PII, and all the PHI elements that are present in your database. So once these elements are identified, there are a couple of ways that you can go about masking or securing the sensitive data. One is to directly go ahead and go into data masking and mask the sensitive data. And the second way is to take a subset of the non-production copy and then go ahead and mask the subset of data that you have just created. Solix CDMS data discovery. So this feature primarily allows you to auto-discover any confidential or sensitive information that is present in your non-production databases. So here we are seeing at some of the problems that customers or that we see that companies have is they have multiple enterprise application databases which store sensitive PCI, PHI, and PII information. So the enterprises at this point don't know where this data is located. And also the naming conventions differ from each application and to different from one database to another. So there's no easy way to prove compliance during audit. So at this point, the Solix EDMS data discovery, it allows you to auto-discover PCI, PHI data elements across different data sources, enterprise application, and also custom application. So once the database and the metadata is searched, this metadata is then stored in your Solix EDMS repository, and you can apply masking rules or the Solix EDMS masking algorithms on the identified elements. So the data discovery is a simple to ease solution with a process-driven user interface. It also provides a data discovery dashboard, which gives you an idea of the amount of sensitive data information that is available on your database, and also the different types of elements and the elements that you have already secured or masked on your database. Moving on, the next feature that EDMS provides is the test data management. So this is primarily to reduce storage costs and increase application development productivity with a secure database subsetting. So IT organizations have to keep provisioning storage systems to meet the data growth that is multiplied by the number of copies required by each application for testing. On the top of this, IT resources that include DBAs are spending time on inefficient processes that severely impact on application development cycles. So what we have seen is seldomly full database copies are needed, and the cost of maintaining clones could be reduced significantly by using database subsets. So one of the examples that we have over here is if you have a production database of 500 GB, then a lot of storage cost goes into making copies for your development, for your training, performance testing, and UAT, which will multiply the amount of storage that is required. So instead of this, the Solix EDMS test data management is designed to automate the creation and the management of the database clones. So what this allows you to do is make a full clone of your production copy and then make subset of that clone or that database for your testing, development, training, etc. Also, there are a number of different subset and cloning methods that can be used to implement this solution, and they range from delete, truncate, to insert. So one of the points I'd like to make over here is while working with the customer that I had mentioned, they wanted to create a subset of their financial data based on a fiscal date and an accounting period. So we facilitated this using the test data management feature of Solix, and also the using the insert cloning method. And also, as you can see, that these subsets can be created based on a number of business rules or the business requirements for each customer or client. Also, the data subsetting can be used along with the data masking solution of the EDMS. So there are a couple of ways that this can be processed. One is what we call as the traditional test data management. So you first subset the data, your non-production data, and then you mask, go ahead and assign masking rules or the algorithms on the subset of data. And the second option is to subset the data with on-the-fly data masking. So what this allows you to do is, by the time the subset is created, you will have the data already masked or secured. So this is a more comprehensive way to protect your sensitive data information, and it will help to go one further level in protecting any data breaches. Here we have a brief summary of the benefits of data subsetting and masking. So it reduces cloning times to hours. Basically, it's an automated process that we provide. Smaller clones reduce storage and server requirements. The test and dev clones are right-sized to the business needs and requirements instead of making an entire copy of the production database. The on-the-fly masking, as I've described, is going one level further to help that to prevent that data breach. Smaller clones increase data security, so less data implies there's less risk of exposure to sensitive data, and also it helps in compliance and risk mitigation. So here we have a case study with regard to a federal healthcare financing agency. So one of the prime challenges that they were facing was the time taken for cloning their databases. So once we implemented the Solix solution, we created subsets which are around 1% of their production instances that are of 16 terabyte of size. And this subset enclosed instances took less than 24 hours with highly efficient parallel processing. And as mentioned earlier, the subsetted data can also be masked after to complete the test data management process. Moving on, the last feature or the segment of the EDMS test data management solution is the data masking. So this is primarily to reduce the risk and compliance issues by securing your PCI and PCI elements with the enterprise data masking. So what exactly is data masking? So data masking, to put this in context, is the original value is ordered to a non-identifying value, but the format or the integrity is maintained after the masking process is complete. So masking is not a process that obfuscates data in production environments. This is typically or primarily used in your non-production environments. And it is not the only effective solution for your overall security strategy, whereas it is something that has to be considered along with the policies that are determined for your sensitive data. So here on this slide, I would like to touch on the different features or the different components of the data masking functionality. So the Solix EDMS provides a prepackaged solution for applications like PeopleSoft or your Oracle Business Suite or EDMS. So you would, with a single install, you will have an out-of-the-box metadata of all the tables, relationships that are present in any module of these applications. Also, the EDMS supports masking of all major databases, ranging from Oracle, MySQL, DB2, Teradata, Progress, and so on. Any database with a JDBC or an ODBC driver will be able to establish connectivity from the EDMS solution and hence mask the data present on those databases. So the masking security rules, we have a wide variety of both database and Java algorithms, around 50 of them combined, and these are primarily classified in 5 different categories. Encryption, decryption, which will allow you to encrypt any data, so it will be replaced by X's and O's, and it will also be allow you to decrypt it back to the original value. You have the shuffling type, which will allow you to shuffle the different fields within a particular column, and also masking, which will be randomization, which will random generation of values within those fields based on the type of security rule or masking algorithm that you have selected. Also, I'd like to mention over here is you can customize these algorithms based on your business rules. For example, the customer I was working on, they wanted to mask their social security field on their PeopleSoft application, but they had a set of rules which they wanted to comply with even after the masking process is finished. So we went about and customized our out-of-the-box rule for the SSN number, and we were able to comply to those requirements of the customer. On this slide, you see the different clients that we have implemented the test data management solution. So it ranges from the retail sector into the communication sector, and also the Medicare and health sector that we have. So the single install of the Solix EDMS helps you to have, as I mentioned, a metadata or a pre-packaged knowledge base containing all the information about the tables, the relationships, and all the rules that are required for your masking process. Also, this single install can be used for your masking and as well as your subsetting solution. Again, to touch upon, the Solix CDMS offers a unified masking and test data management business process. So as you can see, it has the ability to connect to a wide variety of databases. Once you have established connection, you can use the data discovery process to automatically identify all the different sensitive elements that are present in your database, and then go on and apply the masking rules to those elements, and also use the data discovery dashboard to keep a track of the amount of data, sensitive data that is present on a particular database. So another case study that we have over here is a leading telecom provider whose primary concern was to mask the sensitive data in their custom applications before it was sent out to test, development, and QA. So one of the challenges that they had was a large database size had started to impact their application performance. So Solix solution provided a single platform for their 10 custom applications on 3 different database types. So the first phase was implementing Solix CDMS masking solution, and then the customer, after training, was able to complete implementation on the remaining databases. So this provided the benefits that they seen were automated high performance, also compliance with new government regulations, and a self-sufficient customer who was comfortable with masking sensitive data repeatedly. So some of the best practices that we would want to ensure is you would want to look for a contextual consistency, which is you would want to maintain the consistency of masking of each element across different databases, and you would also want to maintain the data integrity. That is, if a field is across 3 or 4 different tables, the Solix CDMS ensures that after masking, the data integrity or the masking value is consistently maintained the same across all the tables, all the related tables. And we also make sure that the data subsetting can be used along with the data masking, which will be on-the-fly masking process, essentially to make the entire TDM process faster, and also a higher level of to prevent the data breaches. So in order to make our customers or prospective clients get some hands-on experience with our data masking feature, what we have done is we have come up with the Solix EDMS Standard Edition. So this Standard Edition is a free download and is easy to set up, takes 5 minutes, and it allows you to mask data across 10 distinct columns. And this Standard Edition is shipped with a library of all the masking algorithms that are a part of the Enterprise Edition of your Solix EDMS. It also ensures there's a high performance of data masking process.
So at this point, we're going to move to a demo, but I wanted to make a few comments about the EDMS software. I know right now that in federal, state, and local government, things are very tough, and I think everyone's been running at a net zero budget. The fact that all of the algorithms are shipped with this software, it's free, and it already allows you to do masking up to 10 columns, should not make not having a budget a barrier to receiving the value. And I just wanted to share with the fact that we have a few organizations that did download the software, and as a result, they used it for a couple months, found a lot of value, and the exposure it got in the organization was quite positive. So we're going to see, Costaba will now show you a demonstration of what you can expect when you use Solix EDMS SE version. Costaba?
So you can go onto the Solix website and download the EDMS Standard Edition for free. All you would need to do is register, log in, and download the software. Once you have downloaded the software, you will be able to instantly start masking your solution. So the software comes with an inbuilt database and a Tomcat application. So you would start the application, after which we'd go into the login screen of the Solix Standard Edition. Once you're logged in, you're seeing two components of the Standard Edition. One is the data masking, which is our primary focus on this webinar, and the second is the data validation. The data validation is basically allows you to validate when you're moving data from one database to another. It allows you to validate if there are any discrepancy that was caused during the movement of the data. So to execute the data masking process, I'm going to show you the ease with which you will be able to do this. So you would be launching the data masking wizard. So the initial step would be to establish a connection with the database that you would be executing this process on. I have already established a connection over here, and I've named it masking source. So I'm going to select and click edit. This gives a brief description about the connectivity details, such as the IP address of the machine, the username, password, and so on. So once you have established connectivity, you can save the connection, and then you can go on to the next step, which would be to identify or select the tables that you would want to mask. So in this demo, I would be showing you how you would be able to mask bank account number and a credit card number. So for that, you would select a data source. And the table owner drop-down box would give you a list of all the schemas that are available, that are present for that database. I'm going to select account payables as the schema, and I'm going to select the table name over here and click on add. And I'm going to follow the same process to add the table with having the credit card information. So once you have selected these tables, you can go on to the next step, which would be to apply the security rules onto these tables. So you would select the table name, the column name over here, which would be your bank account number. And here under the rule type, you see the different categories which I touched upon during the presentation that the masking rules are divided into. So I would select a shuffling rule type over here. So this would basically shuffle all the different values within the bank account number column, so that by the end of the process, no single field is retained as is. I'm going to add this assignment to the data wizard. I'm going to similarly add an assignment for the credit card number. Over here, I'm going to select the rule type as masking data. And one of the masking rules that we have over here is mask credit card. And this, with format, this allows you to mask the number based on a certain requirement that you have. So once I've set up the security rule assignments, I select both of them and move on to the next one. So here I would see the parameters that are defined for each security rule. So as you can see over here, under the credit card type, I have the ability to have the resultant masking value in the format of a Visa credit card, a MasterCard, an American Express, or so on. I'm going to select Visa over here. And at the same time, you have the ability to preview the results. So as you can see, this is basically selecting a subset of the data that is going to get masked, and it is showcasing the different results that you will be ending up with. So before I execute this process, I'd like to go onto the backend on the database level, and here I have taken a backup of the original table. So before masking, you can see that the values are the same. So we can come back over here after running the masking process. So when I click save and run, the assignments that I have selected in this data wizard get registered into the Solix metadata, which would allow you to go back and rerun this process again multiple number of times. This will generate a run ID for you to identify the job with. As you can see, the parent run ID has spawned off both the security rule assignments that I have registered on the data masking wizard. This will take a minute over here. So once the process is completed, I'll be going back into the database level, and you can see that the original value and the masked value do not match. And also for the credit card number, we see that the masked value is based on the Visa credit card format, and also since we have selected a format separator as hyphen, we'll be able to view that also in the masking result.
So at this point, this concludes our demonstration, and we will be open to taking some questions.
Yeah, it looks like we have a couple that already came throughout the webcast. So
Okay,
the first
great.
one that came in was, we have developed in-house scripts to mask data. Why do I need your tool?
For a number of reasons that I can highlight over here. One is, the primary reason is the data discovery feature allows you to automatically discover different sensitive elements that you would have might have missed out during your creation of your scripts, which would require a lot of manual work. Also, the EDMS masking solution allows that there's consistency when you mask the same element across different databases and different application. And also, it allows to maintain data integrity when the same field is existing or the same field value exists among 3 or 4 more tables or so, basically among multiple tables. Also, the solution allows you for automation of execution of these processes. We have a scheduler that you can use to schedule jobs, and also you can use a command line interface to schedule jobs through your EDMS. Also, it allows for you to monitor these jobs and also have a track record of the elements that you have masked. As I've mentioned, the data discovery dashboard gives you an idea of the amount of sensitive data that is there, which might be otherwise missed if you're doing a manual work. We have a wide variety of algorithms. As you have seen during this small demonstration over here, we have algorithms ranging from shuffling to encryption, decryption, and also algorithms specific for each data type, like specific for social security number, your credit card information, and these can also be customized according to your business requirements. The next one I think which I would say is a real beneficiary would be the ability for the EDMS solution to connect to different databases. So if you have multiple databases in your environment, a single install would allow you to connect to these databases and execute the scripts, which otherwise if you're developing manual in-house scripts, then you would have to do it for different databases over and over again. And one install of Solix EDMS can be used for not only your masking, but also for your subsetting. So basically the entire test data management process can be taken care of with a single install of the Solix EDMS.
Okay. What other questions, Dustin?
We also have one asking, how long can I use the Solix masking software?
I'll take that. The software has no expiration, so you can use it. It is free, and you can use it as long as you need to, and it will mask up to 10 columns of data. So you can start receiving value now at zero cost to your organization.
Okay, and why should I download Solix SE?
If you're in an organization that has sensitive data that needs to be masked, you have no budget, and you want to receive value now, that's a pretty good reason to download it. And you can go to Solix.com right on our home page, and there's a link for downloading if you're so inclined to do that. Anything else, Dustin?
Okay, there's another one. I've seen the demo and it looks interesting. So now what should I do?
Well, I think you should have a screen up there with some contact information. And I would suggest a couple things. One is you can contact Caresoft. You can download the software. You can contact Solix. So there's 3 different ways you can get in touch if you've got some additional interest.
Okay, we have another one that says, can a predefined masking process be run from the command line?
Yes, it can be.
And does EDMS store cross-reference values when masking the same data element across databases?
Can you please expand on that when you mean by storing the cross-reference?
I'll ask the next question while they add that in. Give us an idea of the license cost.
So for SE, there's no license cost. And we have some health organizations, for instance, Centene is one of them, that started off with SE. So there is no license cost for SE. For if you want to mask more than 10 columns of data, then we need to understand what size of the source data. We price based on size of source data. And we'd be glad to have a conversation or even further discussion of how you can use the software to start off masking 10 columns.
Okay, in reference to that last question, does EDMS store cross-reference values when masking the same data element across databases? And they said person names in 2 different databases need to be masked to the same value.
Yes, that is one of the primary advantages of using the EDMS solution is that it, like I mentioned, it maintains the consistency of the same field across different databases and different applications. All you would have to ensure is you use the same masking algorithm and you would get the same resultant value wherever and whenever it is used. And also if the value is across multiple tables, EDMS ensures that the integrity is also maintained.
And is Solix a GSA vendor?
Yes, Solix is carried on the GSA schedule under Caresoft's contract. And if anyone wants to expand this conversation, let me just leave my name, also include my name and number. It's Deborah, D-E-B-R-A, Reebock, R-E-A-B-O-C-K, area code 408-757-4216, and my email address is deborah.reebock@solix, SOLIX.com. And I was actually just out on the East Coast in Caresoft land last week. Any other questions, Dustin?
That looks to be all the questions we have.
Great. I'd like to really thank everybody that attended for making time for this webinar. I hope you found it was valuable, and in order to get your input and increase the value, you can expect to receive a very short email from Caresoft with 3 questions about the webinar so that we can continually improve our delivery of and education about our products. Thank you so much. And thank you, Kostaba, for your time and expertise, as
Thanks,
well as
Deborah.
our partner, Caresoft.
Thank you, Kosova and Deborah. And those actual 3 questions we do have ready now. So if everyone could take a moment to answer some polling questions, that would be greatly appreciated. They're going to come up on your screen right now.